What is up, card fighters, and welcome back to the Prime Vanguard channel. In today's video, I'll be discussing what I believe Solrairon needs to become competitive in the current meta of Cardfight Vanguard OverDress. As usual, if you guys enjoy seeing content such as this, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you guys are always up to date on my newest videos coming out. 1. Resource Management. Now, Great Sage of Heavenly Lost Solrairon on paper actually has some pretty good resource management cards. His ride line comes with a grade 1 and grade 2 target that's set up going in his future turns by getting you normal unit pieces, as well as giving you 2 bodies on board with the grade 2, and the grade 2 actually is a countercharge ability that you can use at the end of the battle he attacks. Not only does this clear out path for Solrairon to use his effect to get a new target onto the board, but also lets you use counterblast abilities earlier prior to Solrairon's skill, and then gets a countercharge off of that. However, Counter Blast is not so much an issue in this deck as much as Soul is. Soul is an extremely rare resource in this deck that Solrairon needs to be successful. Now, with its competitor Hex Orb Sorceress in the current format of Vanguard OverDress doing pretty good for herself, she actually has a key unit that we need on our side, and that key unit is going to be her Quadra Cast Sorceress. Now, Quadra Cast Sorceress has the following ability of when placed in the rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Sorceress in its card name, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put them on the top of the deck in any order, and soul charge 1. If Solrairon had his own version of this, not only would we be able to stack the deck with a normal unit to activate his skill, but we'd also be able to get a soul charge off of this, which means that we can have a unit that benefits our strategy while also giving us the resource that we're missing. A lot of the good cards that you want to use for Solrairon require soul outside of itself. Cards such as Sanctio Archer Dragon, as well as Katawaya, are really great cards for Solrairon to have because they get you an extra draw, they get power, as well as add a Persona Ride piece, hopefully, or a grade 2 or higher piece to your hand. But outside of just lacking soul, there is another key factor really holding this deck back from standing out on its own. 2. Stronger support. Now, Solrairon has received a lot of good support with his first introduction. I believe the ride line was pretty solid, as well as the generic support that follows him. But Solrairon is missing something that makes his strategy consistently happen. Unlike his counterpart Hexa Orb Sorceress, she can be active at any period in the game. She's not reliant on you having certain pieces to get her effect going, or setting up for anything needed to make her work. While she is reliant on your drive checks, you do have card effects that help set you up for that, but that's less work to set up than Solrairon does. Solrairon's first ability and rearguard pieces are reliant on you revealing a normal unit for his first effect to then trigger their abilities, as well as him giving 5,000 power to your entire board until the end of the turn. This 5,000 power is huge, as this additional power buff is a mini Persona Ride turn for Solrairon and helps his numbers stay consistent throughout the entirety of the turn when playing against your opponent. Without that 5,000 power additional buff to all of your rear guards during your turn, your numbers become very lackluster as your pieces are set to only do one thing, and that's a set up for Solrairon, and it hurts your attack formation entirely. Even with the benefit of Persona Ride and this deck desperately needing it, the additional 5k buff really does help. So Solrairon will need a piece that can consistently get him the checking of the top deck of the normal unit without having to be placed. Now, being the Keter Sanctuary Nation, you have options from Angel Feather, Genesis, and Oracle Think Tank to look at for this particular type of resource. Now, we can use something like Battle Sister Coco, who is a unit that can rest herself, let you look at the top card of the deck, choose its position, and then based off what you choose, give something power. That is a great direction to look at for future Solrairon support, as you can simply put this behind the Vanguard and then use the effect to power up one of your units or the Vanguard itself, and then keep your deck check consistent. But if you want to go a different route, another way we can go is by taking advantage of the other support that is offered for Keter Sanctuary. We have cards like Offset Angel, who does the same thing as Coco, but unlike Coco, she gives way more power, but it's column reliant. We have something like our White Witch of Revelation for Tita, who has an ability to rest herself. She has to check the top card of the deck, or lets you soul charge it, and then if you soul charge, you give one of your units 5k. Or if we want to keep our hand healthy, we have something like Persistence Angel that says draw a card. We can ditch it, but then put a normal unit from our drop zone to the top of the deck. Anything like the 3 of these would be extremely good for Solrairon, because then you'd have a piece on the board that you can consistently use to make your strategy work. And while something like your Offset or Fertita wouldn't help your strategy with Solrairon because they lose the 5k buff, I'm pretty sure that the developers would give something more similar to Persistent Angel than those cards. But that is a route that we can go to make sure that we are able to trigger Solrairon's first ability consistently without the reliance of drawing into a new piece. With Solrairon having access to a better resource management piece as well as more consistent support, here are some fun ideas I believe could work for Solrairon. Now, because Solrairon has the ability to check normal deck units, I believe to make this deck stand out more as an individual deck than something like a Hex Orb Sorceress, and they're not fighting for, the slot of who's better at deck checking than who, I think that something that we can do for Solrairon is bring back Oracle Think Tank's mechanic of normal deck units with trigger effects. Examples like Goddess of Running Water Ikishima or Goddess of the Sun Amaterasu, where when these cards are revealed, they bind themselves out of place and they give an effect to your Vanguard depending on which one was revealed or which one you might need. Now that the deck limit is at 50 cards, you have 4 extra slots to work with to make these cards work. They'll have rearguard effects that you can use to make them useful when they're not being stacked onto the deck via other card effects that are beneficial to Solrairon or, generically good in any circumstance, but have that deck checking effect that when revealed with Solrairon will give him an additional push as a Vanguard. I don't think that Solrairon as a Vanguard is bad. It gives you multi-attack and gives 5k to your board, as well as letting you stack the deck after you choosing to call something. All those effects are really strong. I don't think it needs an evolution. I do think, however, it needs more stronger support so that it can keep up with the competition and become top tier. And something like a Goddess of the Sun Amaterasu or an Ikishima being revealed off of its first effect and being removing itself and then letting you get more targets for the second effect means that not only are we compressing our deck some more, but we're giving our Vanguard something to be scary about, as Solrairon's main attack usually isn't the scariest compared to our rear guards. Normally, I would say the deck needs something like a finisher or something else to give you battle door effects, or just something to push your Vanguard, but I believe that for Solrairon and to stand out as a deck, this is the finisher that we need. Something that we can check off the top of the deck that can change the route of our attack patterns as well as change the progression of the game. But in the comment section below, let me know what you guys think that Solrairon needs to become a competitive deck. I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of the Pope, and I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. With that being said, I'll catch you later. Peace.